Ammar.
Good morning, listeners.
That,
You hear, Jalf?
yes, the last one worked. So sorry, I had connection issues.
All right. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Quite interesting that you did and you have. But it's lovely to see you nice. Um, I think it was quite interesting how reliant we are on technology. Anyway, you're listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
live on our weekly radio show right here on Spice FM.
And each week we'll try and bring some views, news, and one or two clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
And we'll be talking shop quite literally, not just corner shops. Whether you're looking to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business, we can help.
We can help, and we do help. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, John? Feels like 10 years since I last saw you.
Yeah, it does. You know what? I was thinking the same. And even last Friday, it feels as though that it was not
Yeah,
weeks ago, but maybe it was a couple of months ago.
easily, easily. And I know we talk about this regularly, um, about how quickly time is going, and obviously there's a combination of um, or a culmination of you just trying to cram more stuff in. Um, but yeah, it's um, it's interesting. It is interesting, and it was crazy because I was down in Catterick last week.
Hmm. And how was that? It was
Yeah,
great
it's
to speak
good.
to the colonel.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. The sun was shining. The um, the event was was quite a significant event. It was the formation of the Army North headquarters. So it was really, really, and I stayed there. I drove down, and I think I mentioned this, but it was the roads were so quiet. I'd set off like sharp because I just thought I'm going to Catterick. Don't know how long it's going to take, and then it didn't take that long at all. And I was like telling people, I was going around saying, you know, can't believe I'm half an hour early, as if it was a big deal, and I'm attending a military event where everyone's always early. Is the
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Uh, uh, so yeah, it was good. I went there, and then on Saturday I went to Kingston Park and visited my regiment, who have the world's first virtual reality rocket launcher, but it's connected into all over the world. So it's connected into live environments. There was a drone operator in Salisbury Plain. There was people on the ground up at Catterick, and everything was connected virtually. And the cost of one of these rockets, if you were training, Jaff, is £150,000.
Wow.
So if you can virtually replicate that, imagine how much money you can save.
Hmm. And is it the same? So it's effectively you're doing it without doing it, yes?
Yeah, yeah, it's
That's
you're
quite
doing it
that's
without doing it.
actually another mind
sounded a bit
wonders, right? But
sounds a bit rude. It sounds a
Ammar,
bit
right?
rude, doesn't it?
Imagine though, if you watch
You get
those
arrested
futuristic
for that.
hey, if you imagine for those futuristic movies, I think it was the Terminator or something, where they're like doing something virtually and they think that they're actually doing it. Now, you don't want a world like that, though, do you? I understand in the context of a rocket,
It
but in
depends,
other
doesn't it? As,
contexts,
as in, yeah, yeah. So apparently, the average rate of children has reduced. So the number of people and couples having children has reduced quite significantly. And
because of the virtual stuff,
from, sorry?
because of the virtual things.
No. I was just
All
picking
right.
up on your point, as
Oh,
in,
no, I was just thinking
I appreciate you
people have
didn't
got
go.
this virtual thing going on that I'm not aware of. And that's why.
Well, that's I think that was your point, wasn't it? You're virtually doing it, but you're not really doing it. And I was just then saying, well, if you're virtually doing it, then you're not really doing it. Well, in which case, there's going to be a reduction in kids, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it is a well. I mean, look, I totally understand in the context of rockets because the saving yeah, definitely could be huge. And if you're going through all of the practices and stuff, but I guess can you isn't it a bit like Ammar though? If you are doing that, but in the real time situation where there's a real need, it's probably a bit like taking a penalty in the Euro final, right? You can practice as
Mm.
much as you want, but when you get into that real moment where you have to actually fire a rocket and the pressure is on, you can't virtually create that precious environment, can you? Where you might your behavior and your instincts may be different, and the pressures might
Uh,
be different.
so, so the great questions, and um, nothing will ever replace doing it. As in really doing it. I
Mm.
don't think. However, virtual reality has got to a degree in a stage whereby, well, if you imagine, Jeff, uh, air pilots have been using training virtual reality for decades. As in to lift a plane, to take off, to land a plane, and everything else, and that allows you to practice and practice and practice and get to a point where you're perfect. Now, there are translatable examples of uh, virtual drivers, right? Who have got like a virtual driving wheel, got the screens, got all of the kit, and they're driving around and they're like, driving and driving. Their ability to jump in a car and compete. So there's examples of that because of your reactions, your training, the experience isn't dissimilar to the real live environment. So whether that's kicking a football, the headsets that you wear now are immersive. As in you look around, there's people over there, there's people over there. You can see your hands. I've had a VR headset for a few years now, and it can be a bit like disorientating. You put it on and you're like, oh my gosh, and you can see how it's progressed, and it has progressed. But coming back to the the military's application of this, right? So you sat in a cabin, right, which is exactly the same size, the same doors, the same mechanisms as a multi rocket launch system, and you're driving that. The difference being is it's not moving anywhere. The difference being is it screens and it screens and whatever else. But there's someone in a control bunker monitoring everything that you're doing, making sure that you're not making any mistakes. But then they had a drone flying on Salisbury Plain, which is a real drone, which is transmitting the video back to a central control unit. And then they had a couple of people up at Otterburn sort of looking around, and you could see what they could see, and that's coming centrally. So from a virtual perspective, yes, whilst it's not the same as like whatever it is, and technology's moved on, so you can't get what you call haptics and movements and things like that, which will illustrate the same as any type of real movement. It's incredible what you can get, but in essence, it's a really big deal, and there's more and more and more of this happening to the extent whereby now you can get headsets that you put on, which are what you describe as augmented reality. So it sees exactly what you're seeing, but then it'll overlay. Like, for example, right, I'm looking at an engine, I'm fixing an engine. You'll have the headset on, you can see through it, and it'll say, move this nut, and it'll move that nut, it'll show you exactly what you need to do. It's crazy. The level of technology.
Hmm. Yeah, it's moved on a lot, and it's going to continue to evolve, isn't it? Technology.
Yeah, it is. It very much is. Anyway, we don't have any script this week, so we're going to be off script, Jaff, for a
Which
change,
side?
I think. So let's go through news. What do you know about the news?
Um, Gosh, I think since the last time we spoke, um, good old Donald Trump, did someone not try to assassinate him, or was that before? That was after, wasn't it? I mean,
That was a couple of weeks ago, yeah. So
was
we
it?
haven't really talked about it, have we? In
No.
any
So there
great
was
depth.
obviously an assassination attempt. Um, and what other big
Biden
things?
stepped down.
Hmm? Biden, yeah. Biden stepped down. Oh my God, he got, is it Kamala or Camilla? Kamala.
Kamala.
You know that she's not
Kamala.
black, she's Indian.
What?
She's not black, you know. She's Indian.
So she called Kamala.
No, I'm just saying that she's trying to make out as though that she's black, like from Afro Caribbean kind of black, but she's not.
Is she though?
She's Indian.
No, but is she trying to make out that she's?
Well, I think everyone thinks that she's black.
No, well, that's everyone else's problem, isn't it? Fault or whatever. It's not hers. Yeah,
Mm.
everybody else thinks
Well, no, maybe that's how they market it. Maybe that's how she's marketing herself.
maybe.
There's more of an affiliation. You're more. There's not. You don't. As an Indian, you don't. You're not really deemed as American, are you? But as a black woman, you are deemed as American because obviously the black
Mm,
population is so big, and historically, it's a big part of their culture. Whereas the Indian community, it's a very, very small part of American culture, I would have thought.
mm. Yeah, well, I mean, actually, the Indian community owned America, didn't they? That was
No, no,
their
no.
home.
But the Red Indian community, I don't think she's like from the Red Indian heritage.
No, I'm just saying, like, so what do you think the connection is then between the Indians and the Red Indians?
There's none. The Red Indians, the Red Indians were totally different group of people. They were very indigenous people that were obviously that was their land before. Is it Christopher Columbus that
Well,
discovered America
it's,
before he landed? So they were, I was very intrigued by their culture and the way of life. It was very, very primitive, where they kind of, loved the rivers and they protected the lands. The cows and the buffaloes and all the animals that they had, they would really, really care for them. But when they ate them, they made sure that nothing was wasted, like from the
mm,
bone to the kidneys to the flesh to everything. So they had their ways of doing things. It was very kind of nature orientated. I think they were really loved their environment, the nature, to try to protect everything. And obviously, but with that way of life, I guess you wouldn't have never have got the industrialized America that we have today, because it's look at what America is and how it's grown and developed. And when you look at the scale of a city like New York and the high-rise buildings and the impact that they've had on the whole world, obviously the Red Indian community would have never been able to make that impact because the way of life was very different.
yeah, no, actually, there's examples of communities still living in the way that they have done. I believe down in the Amazon, there's an untouched community that
Yeah,
exists in exactly the same what we would describe primitive way
yeah,
of living. But actually, because of that, it must be wholesome, it must be organic, it must
yeah,
be non-polluted. If you
yeah,
think about what communities, societies have done over the years, it's incredibly sad to
Mm.
see the destruction and where we've ended up. But coming back to um, modernization, innovation, that's just life. It's evolution, right? I mean, we'll get to a stage. Um, I hadn't realized that human beings, like at the time of the Egyptians era, and the pharaohs and things like that, that people were like 10, 12 foot tall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think well, from the era of Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
that's they were like giants, weren't they? There's like there
Yeah.
is there's graves and there's bones that depict all of that, and it confirms that.
So so anyway, it's interesting that we've evolved from being incredibly tall, giant like people to where we are now. And I imagine we're going to get to a stage where we'll only need one finger and one thumb, and the thumb will get bigger, and the finger will do that or do that, and he'll do that, and the rest of the digits will start reducing, and we're already the curvature of everyone's back. I look at my 11-year-old son, and he's just like rounded, and he sits, and he even sits like that. And I'm sat there thinking, like, really? Sit up straight. But it's sad. Well, is it sad? Is it evolution?
I think, is it evolution or is it just how I don't think it's evolution. I think it's a matter of how your lifestyle has changed because you're on the computers and you're on the phone, and that's obviously having an impact on your body shape. And that's just across the board, isn't it? People are getting probably more curved, and unless you're prepared to tackle it and keep your body in the original state of mind where your posture is upright and this, that, and the other. But I think that you need to do that consciously, as you say, that you're telling, Yusuf to lift his body up. So if you're consciously doing it, maybe then the evolution would remain intact. But otherwise, there will probably a society of the next generation who are a lot more curved. I don't know.
Mm.
You can see it going. Like if you're going to be constantly on your phone and keep on looking at it. I guess that's going to probably change, though. How it's going to change, I don't know. Maybe the phone gets replaced by a hologram and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's all already happening, isn't it? Is what it
Yeah.
is. So, anyway, it's interesting times. And talking about technology, Jeff. So last Friday, as I was driving down to Catterick, ready to do a live show on here, I I was listening into the news like I always do, and the outage, the worldwide outage,
Mm.
was taking place. Did you experience any issues?
Um. Luckily, no. But I think that's just the snippet of what is going to happen. I think that's gonna be regular occurrences, and it is gonna hit everybody, and cause a lot of pain because you become so technology dependent. Of course, there's going to be glitches. There could be man-made glitches, or there could be just glitches because of technology breaks down, and it's going to cause significant issues to all of us. And I think the one that everyone should fear is when there has been glitches on bank accounts before, but if there's a glitch on the bank account and all of a sudden your money's wiped out and it doesn't go back in as you expect, I
And,
think.
and and that's the challenge, right? Over the last however many years, there's been huge push and drive to um, to go cashless.
Mm,
And yet last week, and actually there was a bigger issue on the week before where people couldn't access their cash.
yeah.
Some of the banks were failing. And yeah, I always carry a little bit of cash, not loads. I always carry a little bit of cash, and the amount of people that I was hearing, oh yeah, cash is king, got to do this. Yet, interestingly, the first time ever, the Treasury, right? So the Treasury, or Bank of England, Treasury, and those involved in monetary policy, the Treasury would always is printing money, right? Because it has to, because it takes money out of circulation, notes get whatever it is. The technology of notes is improved so that there are um, longer times for notes to survive. However, this year the Treasury haven't coined any new coins.
Mm.
So coins obviously last forever, don't they? Is what they
Yeah.
do. But they would always make more coins. And this year, because of that drive from cashless, um, they've not made any, which I
Mm.
thought was quite an interesting statistic.
Well,
Coming
probably get.
back to computers and failures, the vast majority of failures, if not all technology-based failures, are human-based, Jeff.
Mm. But I might imagine though, like go to a football match in James's Park. I went there last season and I moved from my seat to a different seat, and I just wanted to get some chips, and I didn't know that I didn't have any cards with us, and I didn't know that they wouldn't accept any cash, so I couldn't get anything. The lady was kind enough to say, "Oh, look, you know what? Just have it."
Was she?
But
I'll have to
yeah,
try them.
but the thing is, I mean, cash is still a legal tender, and they're just wiping it out. Big institutions are not accepting cash, and I just think it's wrong personally. If
Yeah.
it's legal tender, how can the company say that I'm not allowed to do it? And why aren't the revenue in that instance going in and telling them, hey, hold on, that's actually illegal what you're doing? Because you need to be able to accept cash. Because the operator can't say no if it's a legal tender, right? But they are saying no and they're not refusing to accept it,
Yeah,
which is illegal, isn't it?
it is
But they're not
very
getting they're
much
not getting
so.
a smack they're not getting a smack on the wrist in that instance, are they?
Well, I think the rules are adjustable depending upon who you are and what you do. That's part of the challenge, and you're right. It's like wrong um, for people not to accept cash. Yet they are. Um, and what are you going to do about it?
Well, you can't, can you? I mean, what are you going to do? But you're gonna have to move along with how those institutions are moving society on, right? So
Well,
we're not.
you're being forced
Yeah,
to,
we're
aren't you? Is
individuals
what
that we have to accept, what happens, and we don't have any control of any of that.
well, we don't, and that's part of the issue and the challenge is, sort of we have very little and limited control on what is done to us. We're coming back to this crowd strike outage, Jack. It was really interesting because it wasn't just CrowdStrike, it was Microsoft.
Mm,
So the fact that Microsoft, the most popular operating system in the world, uh, allowed CrowdStrike to make a change that would have such a big impact. Now, arguably, you could say, well, yeah, here's a car. What you do with if you decide to go 180 miles an hour, that's you, that's your fault, isn't it? So it's how you use that. It's then the damage that's caused, which is the biggest issue. I think is what it is. So anyway, it had a huge impact. People were unable to operate. The most significant impact was on health and life sciences, Jack. That's what was scary. Um, and it was really concerning that um, people, appointments, pharmacists, hospital operations, things like that. And it just goes to show the dependency of the technology, doesn't it?
Of course, and the impact it can have on millions of people around the world. Um,
Mad,
and it's
mad,
it's it's
mad.
great. Really.
Talking about football, Jeff, what's the latest? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think as far as Newcastle United is concerned, the players are back obviously in pre-season. I think they had a match against Burnley a couple of days ago.
Oh, did they?
So,
I didn't
yeah,
know. I didn't
it
even
was
know.
behind closed doors, so Sandro Tonali was able to play, and I think he played really, really well. He's still banned until the Spurs game, which is end of August. But we are only 3 weeks away from the first game, Ammar, against Southampton
Yeah,
at home.
17. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
3 weeks
Who is
away.
it?
3 weeks.
Who's it?
It's
No,
against
who?
it's against Southampton. We've got
Is it?
actually, I think we've got a really good um the fixtures have been really good for us because it's great to always have the first game at St James's Park because we're confidently we can beat anybody. It's against Southampton, newly promoted. Hopefully we get off to a great start and then we have a decent run in. We play Spurs at home, which is probably the third game in. But we get Sandro back for that, and hopefully it's at St James's Park, and we've played well against them the last couple of seasons. Hopefully, if we get off to a flying start, it just does so good for the confidence and stuff, and that may help us, have a really really good season. Hopefully, signings wise, we've made Lloyd Kelly, who's a left back but can play left centre back as well. That's the only signing that's really been made of any significance. There's a couple of goalkeepers that they've got. I'm not sure why they've got two mediocre goalkeepers, but that's what they've done.
What do
Um,
you mean? As in bringing
well,
in,
like there's a player called John Ruddy, who's like about 55. Um,
right?
and then there's another Greek lad, I can't pronounce his name, and he was number 2 at Nottingham Forest. So we've got those two in. Probably maybe it's they're good characters, I guess, and they're happy to play, second and third, so that Nick Pope will be first choice. So the other guys will help him, support him, and give that little bit of competition, but happily won't rock the boat when they're not playing. So maybe that's the reason why they've got them in. Obviously, there's a new director of football, Ammar, Paul Mitchell, who's taken over from Dan Ashworth, who's gone to Man United. That's a
Oh, is
big deal.
he? All right,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
that's a big deal because Paul Mitchell has got a really good pedigree. He was at Tottenham, he was at Monaco, um, and he brought some really, really big players like Heung-min Son, who plays for Tottenham, and Dele Alli when he went to Tottenham. He signed Trippier at Tottenham, and he was at Southampton previous to that when they were doing really, really well. So he's got really good pedigree. He's also brought in a performance director as well because last year we had so many injuries. So hopefully he's going to work to really alleviate the injuries that the players have sustained. Maybe he's going to implement certain policies and procedures and changes certain things to help that. But I think the signing wise, we still got a long way to go because we've still got another 6 weeks until the window closes, I think. So there's still plenty of
Is
time.
it
But
when does the window
the
close?
window closes in the first couple of days of September. So we're very fast, we're very quickly getting into August, aren't we? So I think there's only 5 weeks left of the window. But then a lot of the deals do happen towards the back end of the window. But hopefully we get one or two in. There is talks of getting this defender from AC Milan. He's called Malik Chow. He's a German international. Didn't feature in the Euros, but he's like a big, 6'4", fast, powerful defender that we probably need. We need a right winger, and we probably need another striker, and maybe a few other youngsters that with a lot of potential. And I think that would be it, really. I don't think they're going to sign a lot of players. Maybe it's 4 or 5 players.
Mm.
But there's been big changes on at the club with Amanda leaving and Murdad leaving. Paul
Yeah,
Mitchell.
that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but I think they're leaving because you probably know more than me. Probably in terms of the shares that they had, I think they need to invest a lot of money from their own pockets, don't they? Because Newcastle's still
Yeah.
at that stage. So if you have to invest another 100 million quid, and you're asking them, say, oh look, your portion of that is another 10 million, they might be saying, you know what, man, I just don't have the funds or the appetite or the capacity to constantly keep on investing in the club. Whereas for PFI, it's just pocket change, isn't it? Like 10 million and 20
Mm.
million, 30 million, 100 million. So for them, it's not an issue, but for maybe Murdad and Amanda, it was. So I think that's probably why they've taken a profit on what they've invested and moved on, which is sad because I thought that she could have been kept as an honorary something. But maybe it's the
Yeah, I think so.
maybe it's they just probably didn't feel when when you own something and then you're made honorary something. Maybe they just didn't feel comfortable with that. Everyone's got a different outlook, haven't they, to life and business and how they feel about a situation. So maybe they just didn't want that. They just wanted a clean break.
Yeah.
So, but then
Yeah.
there's also on that the stack is opening on. I think it's on the 5th of August, which is the
Oh, is
new
it? Oh,
the,
brilliant.
the,
Well done.
the new
And
fan
what's
zone.
happening?
Well, it's just next to St James's Park where the old car park used to be. And that is the fan zone that you would go to before and after the games. I think there's 10 food operators there, along with 3 or 4 drinking venues, a coffee shop, and yeah, and it's going to have a big stage with 3 big screens, and it's over 2 floors. So
Right.
it's not just on match days, Omar, but if you imagine on a Sunday afternoon, Liverpool are playing Man U or something, a lot of the sports lovers, people that want to watch football, and football is always, yes, it's nice to sit on your armchair and watch it at home, but it's also amazing to watch it around others, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. It's the atmosphere,
Especially,
isn't it?
especially in the fan zone. So I think in the big games, I'm assuming that it's going to probably end up being ticketed because of the demand that it's going to carry with it. So
Oh,
yeah, that,
really? As in, you imagine? Oh, you mean during football matches then?
well, if you imagine, let's imagine Newcastle is in the semi-final of the FA Cup and
Yeah.
it's against Man United, and all the tickets are sold out, but the next closest thing to the stadium to watch this match is going to be the fan zone, right? But if you imagine there's 10,000 people wanting to come in, I think they'll have a ticketing system, because
Right.
otherwise, how do you manage that? And probably by having a ticketing system where they probably end up monetizing that as well and charging £5 entry or whatever it may be.
Right.
Because obviously Newcastle are all about monetizing everything, aren't they, at the moment? That's the only. I mean, it is a consequence of the growth of the club, but I feel that everything is monetized a lot more than what it ever used to be.
Hmm. But everything is, isn't it? Is um like if you look at every single experience, including so this week we'd seen some emails about watch NUFC, watch the Magpies, and you can get it for £8.99 versus £24.99. Anyway, it is what it is. It's a business. So and if people are prepared to pay it, then good. That's the best type of business, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Is
is.
what it is.
I'm saying there's nothing wrong with it. It's just naturally when the standard of football that we're watching and the growth of the club is immense. So of
Yeah.
course things are gonna move on, and when they've got a grip of things, they've looked at it, as you said, like a proper business. So when you get the real proper, you know, directors in those right positions, and their job is to develop commercial revenue and stuff. They're doing things in line with all of that. But hopefully, as long as they're investing in the club, which they are doing, then I don't think as fans we can have any type of grievances.
Well, and I think that is part of the opportunity, and it's making a big difference, isn't it? So 5th of August, what's happening then, Jeff? Is that a big
5th of
party?
August is going to be the Cellar Weekender, where Newcastle have part of that Cellar event where they play, I think, a couple of games over 3 days or over 2 days. It's about 3 games, including the women's football, and that's when the St James's Stack launches at that weekend in tandem with the Cellar Weekender.
Yeah.
You probably would have got an invite to go, Ammar, to the business club events and stuff, and the first Cellar weekend of matches.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when it begins. Hopefully, we get to see some new signings before then.
Yeah. Hopefully, let's see. But anyway, coming back to the world and what's going on, Jeff, how's the city centre now that the students aren't around?
Man, city centre is awful, man. I'm just so upset with what's happening with the city centre, the city council. The way that they've gone about things is just horrendous. Access is just being absolutely diminished, and it's being diminished on purpose. And I just don't fathom the reasons why they're doing it, because the commercial impact on business is just so significant. Councils don't care. The traffic wardens are everywhere. You can't even park to unload anything. They're just so aggressive. They say, no, it's double yellow lines, you can't park. Well, where do you want people to park and unload for their businesses? I don't understand what they expect businesses to do. So they're just there to make revenue, and they don't care about the needs of the businesses, simple needs that we've always had, to be able to load, unload, have access to our businesses, our customers to have access to our businesses, shopping, to be able to come in and just pick something up from the city centre that you may need, within just pop in and pop out. They're just killing all of that, and I just don't understand what on earth they're doing. They blame it on net zero and this and that, and it's all a whole load of codswallop. I don't know what, it's just terrible. On top of that, there's another issue, right? You've got these kittiwakes somehow. You walk around the quayside and the birds are pooing on your head, like as a constant. Yeah. And they're like, I think they're all fighting at the moment, all fighting, yelling at each other. And I'm sure the residents that want to sleep, they can't sleep. But then you got those workmen that are coming, cleaning the birds poo off the curbs, and they have to do it every single day, right? And they come with like their masks on and stuff, and they come with these big, massive jet washers, right? And then they're doing it every single day, and I'm thinking, why is someone really so hung up on protecting kittiwakes that you would rather have them pooing all over the city, but you still want to protect them? I don't get it.
Well, because they were okay. I think it's an interesting debate for those who, because there's a kittiwake society. There's cameras. There's live feeds that watch kittiwakes. Yeah. They were reintroduced to the quayside, wrongly so. They were wrongly reintroduced to the quayside. They should have been introduced a bit further up or further down the river. But anyway, they're a protected species. The amount of costs, the impact that it's had on businesses, the deterioration of the Tyne Bridge itself, which is costing taxpayers millions of pounds.
It's ridiculous, man. Why? Who on earth is the president of the Kittiwake British Society? Are they for real? I mean, come on. I mean, it's absolutely bloody ridiculous, man, that they want to protect. It's not like they're like an orange panda. There's only one in the world. Like you said, why do you want to have them housed?
That's not very nice, is it, John?
Well, I'm just telling the bloody truth, man. It's what everyone bloody.
Yeah, that's what's
look,
that.
Kittiwakes, who cares about a bloody kittiwake? I don't care about a kittiwake. I'd rather have a nice city than have kittiwakes pooing all over the bloody goddamn place. It's ridiculous, man. Like you said, move them over somewhere else. I mean, the president that wants, why doesn't he have them in his house? Take them to his house, let him poo all over his house and see how he feels. It's just crazy. Every single day, there's like poo everywhere. And those businesses that actually have to shut down, because who wants to go into a business where the nests, and you can't even apparently touch the nest that have like, they've set the nest on your property and you can't touch the nest. So they can constantly come and make more mess. It's
Yeah,
outrageous.
anyway, you cannot say anything about the kitty-wakes. You
Of
cannot
course you can.
turn
Why
around and have an issue with kitty-wakes because you can't. They're a protected species on the quayside, is what they are. So anyway, there's that. Other things that are going on, Jaff. It's South Asian Heritage Month, um, and it was Gem Arts Festival last week. Did you go anything? Did you go anywhere?
I didn't get a chance, Ammar. What about yourself?
So no, actually I was really under the weather back end of last week, and I've had this sort of cold. Touch wood, it's not COVID because there's lots of COVID going around. So just be careful, everyone who's listening. Protect yourselves, protect those around you. Just be mindful. Um, but anyway, I didn't get to the thing on Friday that I was hoping to. But I did take the kids on Sunday across to Gateshead, and they made puppets and they made various peacock feathers and arts and culture. Anyway, it was really good, really, really good, great fun. And Vikas, congratulations to him, has become a deputy Lord Lieutenant. So he was appointed as a deputy Lord Lieutenant,
Yes, I didn't know that news.
which is
Amazing.
great news. I think that's a great accolade. Uh, so yeah, it was good. How was the Dabawal Gem Arts Masala Festival menu?
Yeah, it was good, Ammar. We always do something slightly different to what we do ordinarily, and it's always a great partnership with Gem Arts. The uptake on the menu, yeah, it's always nice. There's always good uptake on it because, as I said, it's Gem Arts branded and slightly different to what we normally do on a day-to-day basis, and people do like a little bit of a change from the norm as long as it's a change for the better.
Yeah, and actually, I think the people coming along and experiencing it, there's a real buzz. There was such a selection of individuals, and Vikas and the team at Gem Arts just do an amazing job. Other things going on, Jaff. Obviously, we're ramping up for the awards, the ABC Awards this year. There's a couple of extra special awards. One is the inclusion by default. So this is an individual or an organization, any organization that has made a difference to the northeastern Tees Valley community, and that difference could be, helping feeding kids at school, breakfast clubs, etc., 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 type of thing. That's one of the things, and the other one is the Northern Business Women Magazine Award. So this is for women who need to be recognised. There's lots of things going on for women right now, isn't there? Do you not have like exclusive women only evenings?
No, but there was a point with all of our management team, the majority of them were all women. So from the head chef to the general manager, restaurant manager, of marketing manager. So yeah, I think they obviously play a massive part in a lot of businesses. But again, we didn't pick them because they were women. We picked them, they got into their positions because they were good at their job.
But
So
that's the right
we
answer, isn't
don't,
it? That's
yeah,
the
we don't
approach.
we don't look at quotas and think that, oh yeah, we've got to tick a box. No, I think that's ridiculous. We'll never do anything like that. Regardless of how politically correct or incorrect it is, we recruit based on, is that person the right person for that particular position? And we don't care whether it's a boy or a girl. As long as you can fulfill the job, then you get that position. So and boys and girls, males and females, they're not the same. They've got different qualities that they bring to the table because they're a woman and because they're a male. So you have to, you know, that's another simple logical position as well. So and that does give some people an advantage in certain areas and other people a disadvantage in other areas. But it doesn't mean that they can't get into their positions, whichever positions are available. All the positions can be filled by whether a male or a female.
Yeah, and there should be equal opportunity for everyone, and we shouldn't be forced to drive in quotas. I think we do need to acknowledge that there haven't been equal opportunities up until now, but we need to try and address that in a meaningful, considerate way, which is exactly what the Inclusion by Default campaign is doing. You know, sort of saying that we need to recognise everyone. One of the things that you'll hear me constantly and consistently say is we can't marginalize the majority. And if the majority is men or white young boys or whatever, you know, everyone should be involved and included. And we shouldn't be excluding or isolating anybody. So the ABC Awards, you know, quite excited by that. Tommy Sandu's hosting it again. He's a funny guy, quite
Oh,
quite
great host.
crude and rude.
So it's very, very good host, Tommy Sandu.
Yeah. So Tommy Sandu's there. Yeah, we're having it at Gosford Park again. I like the venue. It suits us. They look after us. And we've got a great lineup of supporters from the Northeast Mayo Combined Authority. You know, we've got Handelsbanken, we've got Bruin Dolphin, we've got a number I've mentioned, Yola, I've mentioned SME. So lots of support, lots of people taking tables from Durham University to Ward Hadaway and lots of others. Obviously, Square One support ABC regularly as well. And Tilly Baker Irvin, as well as FRP. So anyway, I'm going to miss someone off, so I better stop sharing names and people. But we also have the wonderful Spice FM award as well, which is for community champions, and it's great to have Spice FM, obviously, not only because we're on it, but it's a great community radio station. So excited for that. Other things going on, if you're interested, if you're aged between 16 and 21, interested in making money, interested in making more money, and interested to hear from those that have made money, then there's a couple of workshops here in Ponteland, and those workshops will take you through. I've got an idea. How do I set up a business? What types of things couldn't I do? Whether you want to do it from your bedroom or whether you want to open up a boardroom, whatever it is. You know, there's that. So check out the SME Centre of Excellence website to learn more. We're still asking people to fill out the Inclusion by Default survey, and it's interesting, right, Jeff? Because uh, we started to push it out more broadly, and the responses are quite interesting from far right groups who have gone, inclusion's destroyed our region, and we will rise again, and, and things like that. And it's a real shame. It's real sad that people have those views. I'd love to get people on our radio show and have conversations with everyone,
Well,
anybody.
we've
Um,
always said,
I was
we've always
I was I
said,
was horrified. I was
yeah, I've always said,
horrified.
yeah. Didn't we always say though, Ammar, that we would like to meet Tommy Robinson and sit with him and have a dinner with him? It'd be interesting, wouldn't it, to have that conversation?
I think so. Well, him, Nigel Farage. You know, I don't know if I want Lee Anderson, who obviously we haven't mentioned more broadly in the news the chaotic scenes last Friday in Leeds. You know, where a certain community, a Romanian community, there was a bit of a riot, and then this week, allegedly someone from Pakistan having gone to pick their mother up from an airport,
Oh,
got into an
that was just
altercation.
unbelievable. Did you see the footages for that? It's absolutely ridiculous, man. I mean, how can that officer still? He should be like sacked on the spot, and he should be. There should be a. I mean, why isn't there a lawsuit against him? And he should get done for GBH. That should be in prison.
Hmm.
It's
I mean, what I find interesting is a lot of people and politicians, and sadly, some of the politicians that I thought were really good, like the mayor of Manchester and things like that, trying to justify some of
yeah.
the activities
Oh, they
whilst
said it's
obviously
all.
condoning it.
They said it's all right to kick Pakistani boys in their heads and then cause a cyst in their brain. You know, they said that they basically said that so they should get a medal for it. One of the MPs came out and said, and he's in the Houses of
Yeah, that
Parliament, coming out with that
reform.
good, you know, the Reform MP. I mean, are you for real? You're an MP? You're supposed to be, you know, the leader of the society, the one that's supposed to set the moral standards, and you're coming up with nonsense like that. It's just ridiculous. What on earth
It is.
type of MPs have we got in our parliament? It's just shocking.
It is very much so. Anyway, we're coming up to the end of the
Right,
show. You've been listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
live on Spice FM, and every single week we bring you lots of news, views, and one or two clues. And we also just love having a conversation, is the other thing that we do. Hopefully, we've shared with you some insights. Hopefully, we've added some value to your day. If not, it's been a little bit entertaining. We'll be back, and maybe I might be away, but there'll be other people stepping in with the Jaff for the next couple of weeks, and talking about life in general. Lots of people enjoy it. But until then, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
So enjoy your weekend, enjoy your summer holidays. If you're doing something with young people, wonderful. If not, wonderful. Just make sure that you enjoy everything you do. Okay, take care. Bye.